Hi everybody, I'm Zach and I like movies, and I am finally here to give a review for The Brutalist. This is the latest film from actor-turned-director Brady Corbet, and man, has this thing gotten a lot of hype. There has been basically nothing but prestige and awards buzz from like the moment it debuted at festivals, and pretty much seems guaranteed based on the kind of movie it is. For one thing, it is very much the kind of movie that we think does not get made anymore. You know, it's a mid-budget movie. It's a bit mid-budget movie about adults, for adults, with adult lives, but more than that, this is a real, like, a true, like, great American novel kind of epic movie. It is very it is very old-fashioned in how it's told, and like and the story that it is, and is like it is shot on 70mm VistaVision. It is 3.5 hours long in length, and complete with its own overture and intermission, and even an overture too, and it is a real. Again, like I said, a great American novel kind of film about an immigrant coming to America and trying to live his best self and succeed in his search through the American dream, and it's worth every bit of that hype. This is absolutely a stupendous film. This is one of the best films of the year. It's breathtaking, and I honestly was a little concerned in some ways because Brady Corbet, I'm more familiar with him as an actor than a director, but as a director, he kind of did strike me as a guy who reaches very far. He has very far-reaching heights and artistic aims, but often his films themselves didn't quite have the meat to justify his like very operatic kind of art house formalism, but I think the fact that it is, but the real he has so much meat of this film with its subject and the sort of questions it's probing. I feel like he finally really found its footing. So The Brutalist is about a Hungarian immigrant named Laszlo Toth, who's played by Adrien Brody. He is a renowned architect, and but also on top of being an immigrant, he is a Holocaust survivor who was rescued from I think it was Birkenau, and he moves to America, to Philadelphia, to be with family, and he was separated from his wife Erzsébet, who was played by Felicity Jones, and Laszlo, he's trying to make the best of things. He's working with his cousin. Was in for a while. Then he's like shoveling coal in Philadelphia. But then he sort of crosses paths with this eccentric, mysterious millionaire, Harrison Van Buren, who's played by Guy Pearce, and they kind of have this interesting, tense relationship between between artist and wealthy patron, and Guy Pearce basically commissions Laszlo to build this grand building, and a lot of the film is just sort of their relationship and the construction of it, and Laszlo being able to succeed, to sort of like speak his truth through his art of architecture, and it's about the American dream. It's about the back half of the 20th century. It is a decade-spanning story about artistic ambition and the tension between art and commerce, and the fight for the artist to fulfill his vision the way they want to, and even like what that vision ultimately says, or even what you could take out of it. So yeah, there's quite a lot. And again, like I said, it is a sprawling movie. Like, a lot of the two like key words that keep coming up and really justifiably are both ambitious and monumental. Like, it is a massive film. Like the kind of film that you really just kind of like it's the kind of epic that you really need to like just kind of crane your head and look up at in awe at its grandeur. And yeah, it reminds me of, yeah, it's very like clearly in the same vein of like other like classic like again Hollywood, like old Hollywood epics. Like I'm reminded a lot of Warren Beatty's Reds in terms of like the sort of dichotomy of its opening and its first and second halves. I felt a lot of callbacks to Once Upon a Time in America. I also felt a lot of Paul Thomas Anderson in this. Mostly like There Will Be Blood and The Master, Paul Thomas Anderson. Those are two other films that really have this like sweeping grand backdrop of American capitalism and very old school film formatting with like again with like not just the period authenticity but also the like the grandeur in the scope and how it's shot and but also like very impressively this was not just a 3.5-hour movie. This was made very quickly, shot in like 31-ish days for under $10 million, which is insane. This looks like it costs like $100 million, and it just feels so big. And I would have to say, and I do think it's worth mentioning that there has been some recent controversy with some mild use of generative AI that has been cleared up. One of them involved sort of audio fix, so basically like fine-tuning some audio with like the Hungarian language, since Hungarian is like a difficult language to learn, and neither Adrien Brody or Felicity Jones are like native speakers. So and that practice is actually not quite as uncommon. Maybe it doesn't justify that, but maybe there's like, this is like, in terms of like the most like justifiable and ethical use of generative AI in art and film, that's probably the most ethical, perhaps. It's definitely not unheard, but it's the kind of thing that's definitely not unheard of. Like Furiosa worked on something like that. David Fincher has done something like that, I think, with The Killer. But I do worry that a lot of that controversy was kind of overblown. But and I feel like it is worth like criticism for, but I don't think it's like a total throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Because, man, what a baby this is, and this is a film that I really can't help. It's hard not to be impressed by, which is like, again, like how ambitious it is and how far it reaches. And I think, and honestly, the first half of this film is magical. It's like real, like, oh my god, like there is an early scene where hell, the opening scene it has oh my god, like I'm just thinking back on it and just like remembering the score is absolutely incredible. Oh my god. It has this like these like tense, very haunting, like plucking strains, but like it's the piano and that brass that has that great refrain that you probably heard in the trailer, and like my god, it's so tense, but also it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. Like Laszlo is like sort of skirmishing, is fighting through this like cramped space of darkness. We don't know exactly where he is, and then like it opens, and then like these doors open up, and right when the brass hits, and we just see the sky, and because we're on this boat, and there's just such joy. We made it, and it like finally cranes over to us see the Statue of Liberty, and it's that shot of the Statue of Liberty that's upside down, which is, it's a very simple image, but it's a very evocative one. It feels, and again, it's kind of like turning the, and it's turning. It feels like it's seeing the American experience from an outsider, and like we see, and it's seeing what Laszlo goes through past just that initial greeting is, it's very captivating. And man, Adrien Brody, my God, like I always like, in my opinion, he never needed to work again after The Pianist, because he already proved himself one of the greats. Like, if that's not one of the greatest movies, greatest performances of all time, it's definitely one of the greatest of the 21st century. Just absolutely incredible. Sorry, I still feel a bit wheezy in my chest. But Adrien Brody, he's marvelous here. He has such a way of communicating his weariness in his the weariness in his eyes, and also love the way that he just every time he like fiddles and takes a puff of his cigarette. He's one of the great movie smokers, and like I love the way he like snaps his lighter shut. It's great. Just great character work throughout from him. But also really loved Guy Pearce in this. I don't think he's had like quite a role that like would really give him the chance to show off what he can do here. Not like this, at least not for a long time. But and he's marvelous, and he is marvelous here. He has this. He really sells the like very sort of charming, debonair wealth. This very charming, wealthy air of grandeur, and maybe a bit of pretension. But he clearly is a man who thinks highly of himself through his, not just because of his wealth, but also because he just feels he feels like he's very intellectually stimulating, as it were. And there's the thorny two-hander character study tension between Brody and Pearce is really where the movie is kind of at its best, and like especially in that first half. My God, like that first half is again. It's a thing to witness. Like right when it it has these gorgeous montages, just like between with like of like imagery and sound design and voiceover being told through like that's kind of being mixed in with this like these radio broadcasts to kind of give better give more weight and meaning to like what we're being shown. And like that ending one right before the intermission is marvelous. It like really, you really just like leave that theater for that intermission as like really floating on air, and like that's even before Felicity Jones show up, which is crazy. And I would say for Felicity Jones, she is kind of maybe the weakest performance, which is to say she's bad. Although that, granted, I was never like super wowed by Felicity Jones as an actress. I think she's good. I think she is I think she is more than capable. But I never felt like I really, really felt impressed by her. But like here, she has like a marvelous scene with Adrien Brody in a bed. That it was bone chilling. Just thinking about it. And I think there's a great energy that her character brings in the second half that I think has seemed to be more divisive. It sort of like complicates this sort of interesting the interesting uplifting grandeur of the first half, which again kind of did remind me of Reds, Warren Beatty's own American epic where like that first half, like it leaves you like really inspired, but by the end, but the deeper we get into that second half, it like you kind of wonder like how things will resolve and how things could be resolved better forward, because Elizabeth, she's taken ill and she's now wheelchair bound. Adrien Brody, on top of just like fighting and just like being completely frustrated and trying to succeed his vision, he's also like dealing with drug addiction, and as it goes on, like Guy Pearce really shows how cruel his character is, and And again, his monstrous side really comes out even when he's like putting on this like charming air about him. And yeah, then it has this like, and a lot of these scenes are so like, they're so well paced. They're incredibly well paced. This is like the quickest 3.5 hours, like probably since like Dune, like Dune 2. Like hell, like that whole Dune experience, like the whole 5 something hours of it moves very smoothly. But this one really gives it a run for its money. Just how like breathless the pacing is. It feels like we're like on a moving train, just like storming forth. And again, like the questions that I think it raises are very, like, keep things fascinated, and because it keeps things on its characters and keeps things apace. That is how it is able to like just never waste a single moment of its time. And I think it has so much questions about the immigrant experience through Toth, how if he should sort of hide and put away his Jewish identity and his religion, or how much he should sort of bend over and not fight for his art. But there's such an accomplishment about the sort of the way that the way that his art that he means to serve as a resilience of his Jewish identity, of the Jewish people. And they're like the way he gives this, he talks about what his art means to Van Buren, and how he talks about how the art in his country wasn't deemed fitting for the German identity, which is to mean too Jewish. And his buildings were meant to withstand such erosion, and he sort of sees his buildings as long lasting. That they sort of seen as a sign of resilience, a sign of sturdy monument. That the buildings themselves are monuments. And I think this film really is kind of in a way trying to be that. I think in some cases it is very clearly blunt about that. Like there is a very sorry. There is a very high aims it takes, and it is very obvious in some places, but also mysterious in other places. That feels very, especially in that second half, that does leave a lot of food for thought and room for interpretation. In some ways, I'm a little hard to parse out, but I think it does remind me of other recent endings, like the ending to Killers of the Flower Moon, which is another 3.5 hour epic that was just flew by. And also Tar. I did feel like a sort of ambiguity, this sort of like both blunt and somewhat ambiguous epilogue that I think is I do understand these sort of issues that may rise with it, where it gets things get sort of complicated and maybe a bit messy, but and again, blunt and maybe a little heavy-handed with what it's trying to say, but really just bravo. This is again just the sheer gutsiness of making a film like this, and again the way that he did, like rapturous performances, just incredible work. The score, the cinematography from Lowell Crawley is marvelous. It's majestic. The score, that's one of my favorite scores of last year. It's just so it's so monumentous and grand. It's bombastic, but it's also tense and haunting at times. And so much of these sequences and these marvelous performances and this music is told through these really impressively made wonders. That's, God, I just can't help but be impressed. It's so majestic and so grand and so, yeah, I kind of do. Sometimes just it's a movie that both you kind of is what you get, and it is so it's just so big and epic. And again, I highly recommend this. Don't be daunted by that runtime. Again, this moves very smooth. This one's very, very impressively. Like I honestly was like I was like shocked when the intermission came. Like, oh, we're here. No, keep going. I want to keep seeing this. But yeah, that intermission, it's very helpful. And yeah, kind of this really it's ambiguous, it's grand, it reaches high, and it grabs so much, and it's drop dead gorgeous, gorgeously made, wonderfully performed. The period detail is great, and yeah, it feels like is like a movie that, especially right now, a movie that is like trying to stretches his arms wide and trying to reach about this broad American mythology of, momentum and tragedy and artistic achievement. Really is an artistic achievement in and of itself, and I can't help but be impressed. I'm feeling, if not a strong 8, a 9. This was absolutely one of the best of the year. I honestly cannot wait to see this again. Although, man, this is a whole day. But very marvelous. It was a marvelous day just spending the day with this film. It's so good. And see it in the biggest screen you can. I saw this in an IMAX, but if you can catch it in like a 70mm, you really take that chance. Definitely probably going to get a lot of love at the come to the Oscars, and a lot of it is deserved. It's just that good. Yeah, so I think that'll be it. That is all I can say about The Brutalist. I got to get this cough under control. And yeah, what did you think of The Brutalist? Also, what did you think of that ending? I think that ending's going to create a lot of discussion. But yeah, monumental. It's big. It's beautiful, and I loved it. And that'll be it for me. I'm Zach. I like movies. I have so much movies to watch. Sorry for shaking the camera. And yeah, I hope you all watch movies too. Because movies are life. And I will see you later, and you all take care of yourselves.